Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways, call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Another wonderful Wednesday. Even better because of the rain that has been wetting in all the places. So 949-8037, 949-6990. So open line until 1 p.m. Want to hear from you. Let's engage. Let's interact. Hey, let's ensure that as we exchange, we get the space and the place that is all positive and productive. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome and thanks so much for joining us. And let's go straight to our phones for those who want to call. It's the WhatsApp 925-3261 or 949-6990. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Sterling, how are you?
Always thankful, and I trust that I never change that because there's so much to be grateful for. How are you?
Sure. I'm not too bad, and I'm going to say I'm not on speed dial, okay? Sterling. My beautiful Cayman Island.
Yes, we all have a special place in the hearts, but...
Yeah. I want to hit on a couple of things, and when you get tired of hearing me, then you can jump in, I guess.
Man, never tired.
Sterling, you know our population is growing rapidly, right?
Uh-huh.
And I have come on in regards to planning and in a rental on an island, on places being built with no back doors, on the new homes and apartments and such. Our mangroves are being destroyed left, right, and center, and I can't recall hearing anyone saying that they're replanting some. I was watching the U.S. some couple of months ago where they're trying to replant some mangroves because they're not something that grows very fast. It takes years to grow, I understand. And I just want to say that knowing that planning is who pretty much, I would say, controlling each household on this island, telling you what you could add from what you can't add. Okay? And as the population grows, we do not seem to have enough bodies in every department that is needed on this island to come out here and do their job in a professional and a safe manner. Follow me? And why I'm saying that, Sterling, we got a lot of those. I don't know how to say it, but I'm going to say it raw. We have a lot of rundown rental places on this island that is not being inspected by anyone to a degree. The individuals are collecting their rent but not maintaining their properties. You got people who can go to the gas station and buy a small tank of gas. Certainly, we never had that many years ago in Cayman. You could go and buy a tank of gas. And I really feel that no one should be able to go to a gas station and buy a tank of gas to take home because you don't even know how their situation is when it comes how the hookup situation is. And I think that planning should be part of that, and how people. There are so many people who are looking jobs, and if they're not up to par, take them and train them. What is wrong with training people? You see, you got to come in on a job now and came on with everything, and they put you in front of a computer and say, put this in, and you don't know how to even turn the first button on. You know? But I just feel like we should not be able to go to the gas station to get a tank of gas. That is a dangerous situation. And when I say dangerous, I mean to the fact of the matter, I see where women walking from the gas station with these little cylinders, hug up under the arm, or trying to walk with it from hand to hand. You know what I mean? And you don't know what kind of connection they have home for these things. And people who are doing rentals should not even allow it to be happening on their property. I don't care how run down the place may be. These people are putting these little gas stoves into sheds and putting gas tanks on them and all that kind of stuff on someone's property. And it's a rental, 95% is a rental place that are doing it. You know, and starting the majority of homes that has been built, I would say, I'm going to go back to my time, 25 years in the Frank Hall subdivision. A lot of these homes up here now is becoming rentals. Like I said before, I don't care who wants to rent what they have. Like, you make sure that your people is secured properly, and you make sure that they're not a nuisance for anyone trying to drive the main streets, because the main streets are not a parking for anybody's private home. If you're having a gathering, you come and talk to your neighbor and say, well, you know, I'm going to have something for a couple hours, and we'll have a couple of cars parked out here and so forth. But even to that sometimes can be a real pain in the neck, because some of the neighbors came to the yard when they want to move. But what about fire trucks and ambulance to get where they have to go, you know? So I just want to say that something needs to be done. And when it's going to be done, I don't know. It seems like the sky's got to come down for Alan to wake up to do things.
If I might, as you're chatting, I'm having an exchange with two of our listeners. The first one was talking on one topic, and then the other sort of picked up on what you were sharing, right? I won't go into the continued speculation that they seem to have, which is probably evident. But one shared, let me see how best to paraphrase it. You know, and the expectation in the past was that, you know, we would have these little cylinders for emergency, for barbecue grills, for when we camped and the like. And but in the same vein, the person writes that maybe that's what people can afford. Maybe that's what we've come to. And asking the question is, as you have said, is that a reflection of where the society is at? You know, because of maybe our income levels, maybe because of the cost of living, and as a consequence, are we affecting the quality of life, not just the lifestyle and the like, but the quality of life and the health and well-being of people? Hopefully, a paraphrase that's sufficient and extracted, you know, the salient points. But to your point, how do you balance the safety, especially when there are things like electrical or gas or the like, with also convenience sometimes, but also then that notion of the quality of life? I mean,
Sterling, quality of life. I mean, just for our joke aside, our population has grown, and we have just about every nationality in our country. And if you go to another man's country, you can't live up to another man's standards. Hey, I probably be wrong for saying this, because it could happen to any one of us. Don't get me wrong. But the fact of the matter is, people are just doing things to their convenience. Sterling, you tell me, if your grandmother, if you can remember far back, I can remember in my grandmother days, I have never seen a wire fence in my grandmother yard, or a picket fence, or clothes being hung out front to be dried. They were put in the backyard
Fair enough.
We got people from another country hanging their clothes in every direction, facing every street that you got to cross to get where you got to go. So and that is not us. And I know everybody got their own way of living, but we are not accustomed to it. And we are just degrading our island to bring in a population to say that we need population and growth for this island. We're not all perfect. I mean...
Mm-hmm. But it's, I mean, and I appreciate you sharing it. As I look at this other message from one of our listeners that, you know, asking about, in addition to what we just shared, that balance between the freedoms that we enjoy and the almost similar willingness to give up a level of our own autonomy that would give, quote unquote, the regulator, the government, more control over our lives, right? Your concern is that very evident, you know, the safety not just of how do we supply and install and use the thing, but sometimes just the access. But let me see if this helps somewhat. We now have a practice where we can go again to certain outlets, including gas stations, and pay our CUC bill. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a good convenience, but then there are those who say, well, why can I also not go to CUC, the entity, to there and do it as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having added opportunities, whether it's through the bank or the post office, as in many jurisdictions, or, you know, another retail outlet that's probably, you know, getting some sort of compensation for it, is good if it gives the consumer more convenience, more access, and the like.
Darling?
Uh-huh.
I got you mentioned CUC. Darling, CUC have a lot of people paying online.
Mm.
And I'm going to say, I would say 80% of them are the white-collar people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to CUC to pay a bill, it was, I'm going to say, the black collar standing in line to pay a bill.
Mm-hmm.
And we go in there with a complaint. So the cashiers hold up the lines,
Mm-hmm.
and they get frustrated. We get frustrated. I don't know why CUC took us out of the main building, but some of that could be the effect. They throw us out of the office and put us in gas stations, and a lot of people do not enjoy going to the gas station to pay their bill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you go to Water Territory, they don't have a senior citizen line. You go and stand up here, and that's the government water company.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got a bill the other day for $230. I got one just yesterday for $263, and my fluid charge on that bill is $147 for one person that doesn't have a central air conditioner in her house. Can you just imagine the people who got 5 and 6 people in their home? How much their fluid charges? I mean, Sterling, I very seldom put my electric stove on.
Mm-hmm.
I thought by eating on the road, I would be saving on electricity, but apparently I'm not. I'm not. But Sterling, we came in, always from came in, doors start opening wider and wider and wider, and the population just keep coming and staying with us. Some come and visit and leave, and the population tends to grow. And I'm going to say it, we are attracting a lot of people from countries that never have what Cayman has to offer. And I'm going to say it, and I just hope that doesn't offend anyone, but it is true because we got so many people coming here now, and they are comfortable. But look at what they're doing to the country. Look how they're driving the country down. They're not even trying to build up a half. These are stand there to say, well, you know what? I come and find this island in this condition. Let me help keep it in this condition. I see very little of that. And we just, the majority, we are living off a non-profit organization throughout the island to help the Caymanians. I got a non-profit organization certificate too, and I put mine down for the last 3 years. I can't even pick it up and get back up there again because of things, my family, but and I just don't. I just don't have it in me right now.
Right,
I
right.
say, Father, one day I'll come back and do it again. But the thing with it, Sterling, we just keep going down and down and down and down. I can't see no coming up, no coming up, no coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like every government they are crying for more and more and more and more and more. And who's the more and more and more for? It's not for us. I mean, come on, man. So many people are out of job. Why can't planning? And why can't this one and that one train people to come out here and go around and check homes and see what kind of condition they are in with all these different.
Yeah, I recognize the time, but I really appreciate you saying, and maybe if you choose to sort of comment, but in listening to you, I'm wondering if, for some reason in our society, a couple of things are happening, just based on your last points alone, sort of inclined to share. Is there an unwillingness to enforce a certain level of sobriety and civility amongst our people, a level of consciousness and consideration, a level of sort of sensibility and sensitivity when it comes to the way our people interact, but also ensuring that when we pass laws or when there's a certain norm that the society itself says, hey, this is the standard, and then to sort of make it even worse, not only are we unwilling to enforce it, we're consciously willing to maybe turn a blind eye to make accommodations for certain behaviors or certain people or certain things in certain areas under the,
Yeah. Sterling, I got this thing that every government is looking for I would call it some sort of quick fix for revenue.
Okay.
Revenue for this island, and getting this revenue is destroying some of our people in so many ways, and destroying the island in so many ways. And everybody just feel like they can do as they please,
right.
because then we got laws and no one is abiding by them.
Right. Well, I think you leave us much. We'll take the break, but anything else you quickly want to share, or that's it for now? We can talk later.
I'll leave it at that for now.
All right.
I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're most welcome. And thank you, too, for sharing. Hopefully people that listen to you, whether they agree or not, they'll be encouraged to share their thoughts, too. So thank you very much, all right? All right, let's pause and take that quick break. Come back. There's some open line until 1 p.m. Hey, give us a shout. We're told that all the lines are up and running, including the toll-free at 1-800-534-8255. The WhatsApp is there if you want us to pay for it. Go right ahead, man. Call, share. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Barry's Golden Jerk, the Cayman Brac sensation, ranked the #1 restaurant in Cayman Brac by TripAdvisor and home of the authentic jerk. Barry's Golden Jerk, serving large portions of the best jerk chicken and pork. Open Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday near the airport, or call 917-6713. Barry's Golden Jerk. It's simply better.
If custom closets or new kitchen cabinets are on your wish list, now is the time to strike them off the list. Brand Source Home Gallery is offering 20% off on kitchen cabinets and custom closets. Now until Saturday, June 10th. Go in now before the sale event ends on June 10th, and you'll have until August 31st to save 20% on the purchase of your dream custom closets or kitchen cabinets. Brand Source Home Gallery's 20% off kitchen cabinets and custom closet sale, ending June 10th. Sign up, get a voucher, and purchase before August 31st. Visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive or call 623-5000 for details.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Dwayne Porter will be taking appointments from May 28th through June 12th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.porterkiman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That is 946-9020.
In celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Department of Lands and Survey, land register rectification fees have been temporarily waived. Property owners now have the ability to amend land registers for free until July 30th. Updating your land register improves communication, provides legal protection, makes property transactions easier, and protects against fraud. Keeping your current legal name and addresses updated is required on your land register, and now you can do it for free until July 30th. For more information, contact Lands and Survey at registry.info@gov.ky or call 244-3420.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. It is open line. Let's go to the call. Welcome. Thank you for sharing.
Hey, good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon. How are you today, man?
I am good, boy. I'm good. I'm good. Enjoying my life here on the Broad by God. Can't complain.
Amen, amen, man. I trust and pray you'll be able to continue to enjoy that for a very, very long time.
I tell you, man, I need it too. Listening to my friend there, I tell you honestly, I love to listen to that woman, the points she makes, because they are so meaningful and they are so stirred to know that we have quite a few that will speak their mind as such as her, but we have quite a few that tend to shy away from the truth. I like when a person speak their mind, and I like when a person don't be afraid of the truth. I like when facts that have to be dealt with is dealt with by words and in action and deed, and not shy away, is what I always talk about. We have people that are no more strong-minded and strong-backed like how our old forefathers used to be. And I know I get ridiculed by using that term coward. And I don't use the term coward out in no context of inner insult to inner one. But when I use it to the facts of knowing that we as Caymanians are not the strong-minded Caymanians that our forefathers was. I often use my father. My mother was the same way. She's very strong-minded, even though she was a biblical woman, but very opinionated by her mind, strong.
Mm-hmm.
And she meant what she said when she said it, and she would quote verses from the Bible that would back her with it. My father was not a church-going person, but he was a very strong-minded, faith person in his biblical beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not a man that said much, but when he said it, people stop and listen. This is what is happening to our country today, Sterling. Our people don't stop and listen to our people anymore. They would rather get facts and fiction from an outsider than to stop and say, I got to listen to see, hey, what Dwayne got to say this morning to get my facts. They don't want to hear Dwayne. They don't want to hear James Christian speak. Rather than to get it from a second-hand source that they know nothing about. That is what our country has come to. That is what our people has been deceived to. That mental thought of having a foreigner tell them the right from the wrong. Sterling, I wanted to come on your show yesterday with Mr. Franklin, and I admire that man so much.
Right.
For who he is. That man has a mind of how my father had and how I adopt. I don't have to be the way that I voice my opinion. If people want to hate me for voicing my opinion, so let it be. But that not going to change James Christian. That not going to change me. And when you stop and think that our government spends so much money every 4 years that a new government get in, or the same government repeats themselves, they spend millions and millions of dollars on protecting one little old swamp bush, I call it, and make the Cayman people suffer. When I listened to that man yesterday with how he has to suffer with the and let's stop Sterling. Let me retract first. The suffering that he's going through with his crops, we have to understand as human beings, because I am in the farming and I understand the same thing he's going through, and I'll get to that. But these creatures were here before, just before man, or the same time of man. So they have to eat as well. But if the government doesn't put something in place to protect the farmers and their crops, their farmers cannot produce the quality and the quantity crops that they have to produce. The farmers need the help. For the farmers to do what they have to do, such as Mr. Franklin, he has to make an income. His income has to be coming in constantly on his crop in order for him to keep sustainable stuff there, to keep his farming, his crops going with that it can financially keep him covered. If there are problems like with the parrots that are constantly destroying his crop, Sterling, I got the same problem on my land. I even stopped farming on the bluff because of the same thing. I didn't get no absolute help from the agriculture department. None. They promised me the world. But Sterling, I wasn't a fool, you know. I didn't.
I hear you, man.
The fool. You remember the saying I say? Comfort, promises won't comfort the fool heart. I didn't fall to the fool. I say, you know what? Before I end up losing everything, I'm going to bring it down to my house, claim all the piece of property, 100 by 100 next to my house. I have 2 wells. I can feed the crops there and take care of them there. Sterling, if I didn't do that, I would have lost everything. The parrots on the bluff, even to the green peas that I grow. They consume even to the vine that the peas grow on. Everything they eat. Even to the pink flowers that I have up there on one tree, I call it tobacco tree. It's a tall tree. Beautiful bloom, beautiful pink flowers. But when it's starting to bloom, the tree smells like tobacco, and that's why I gave it the name tobacco tree. They eat everything, blossoms, everything they eat. Now the gennaps is coming. I have beautiful gennaps. They're not bitter. They're good to eat. They eat them now before they even start to form. All these things, he's suffering down there out of this world, because I don't have even my little bit that I grow might be 1% of what he's producing down there. He has a large scale. I have a starting scale is what I call mine. But we are under the same situation because we're dealing with these pests. And what I'm going to get after next, Sterling, the government paid the DOE to eradicate the cats, Sterling. Let me tell you something. I can't keep a pawpaw tree for the rats eating my pawpaw trees now. There's no more cats. You can't find cat there no more on the bluff where my land was because they kill them out. And now I'm suffering for the little bit that I got left on the bluff trying to produce. When God send the rain, he give it to me because it's hard to grow things up there using the water because it has chlorine in it. When the rain comes, it keeps my little crops up there that I got left balanced out. Now the rats is eating. If a sweet potato bust the ground, if he pop the ground, next day go back, rat eat the sweet potato. These kind of things, government pay foreign people because they take their advice. Now it took the farmers' advice, the Caymanians' advice, take the stranger advice, and told them, okay, let's eradicate the cats to save the birds. Not thinking that the cats is eradicating the mice to keep the farmers going. Now the rats is eating everything that the farmer grow. Sterling, this is what our lady were talking about. This is what Mr. Franklin were talking about. We come to a point in our time, in our life, that we are just nothing but footstools in our own country because of listening to stupidity from people on the outside. Come and tell you how to eat a squab, whatever they want to call it, parrotfish. That a problem. I call it squab. They can't change that. Come and tell me cat don't eat rat in this pile of foolishness and try to ram that down in our people's throat. And here in the Cayman Islands, man, if our people don't stand up and rise up against these people, it causes a hinderness.
Yeah, man.
A hinder, a strong hinder. They don't have no comfort working in the country. Everywhere you see them, make it uncomfortable from.
Right.
Maybe run them out from it, Sterling. I mean, cut you off. But we have to make a stand somewhere. Because I right now is suffering, can't keep my stuff growing. And now they're making their big money. They're not worrying about buying. You think they got buy a sweet potato from me?
Well, as you said, people need to be willing to be courageous, like the caller before you. You exhibit the same willingness to share. So, James A. Christian, right?
That's him. That's him.
Same said, man.
Yeah, anytime you come on, bro, because I see on YouTube, there, you spread the name. Don't be afraid of it.
There you go.
I want them to know that this one got stand for the people of Cayman Brack, and I will stand for anybody, whether Grand Cayman or Cayman, because we are all one. And if we don't stand united, we got to fall undivided. We got to be like the man that building house on the sand. We can't, a foundation that not built on something solid can't stand. And that way I want the people of Cayman Islands to stand.
My friend, unless God builds the house, he who labors in vain, right?
Yes, man.
All right.
Yes,
thank you, right? Thank you.
Yeah, man, cool.
Blessings. Right. Let's quickly pause, take a break. We'll come back. We'll pick up all the other calls. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we are introducing the new Boneless Hot Sub. Say what? The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brack and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
We are now in the hurricane season, and to survive a hurricane, you need to be informed. If you have been informed by official sources that a hurricane is approaching the Cayman Islands, and you live in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding or near the beaches, which may be swept by high tides or storm waves, please seek a safe place and high ground. If the only way for you to get to a safe place is a road that is also likely to be flooded during a storm, please leave home early. Don't run the risk of being stranded. This has been a public service announcement from your community station, Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. A couple of calls before headlines at 1. Welcome, good afternoon, thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling. How are you today, sir?
Healthy and blessed and favored, my friend. How are you?
Well, I'm always happy to hear Mr. Christian when he come on from Cayman Brack.
Yes, sir.
Cayman Brack have a voice now. I believe I might know him by his face because I kind of old now and I can't great grandfather now, but I believe and I know him by his face, but I can imagine he kind of short, but he got a very powerful voice, and he is a voice for the Brack. So I'm happy for that, and I'm happy to hear him all the time. But I think maybe Brother Sterling, I probably brought this subject up here before. I don't know if I can't remember too good because I said getting old now. But yesterday, or day before yesterday, the last day that the ships was in, I took a little drive in town to keep sanity and me, you know. So I drove around town. I was looking. I went across by the craft market. Then going in there, I feel so sad for those people that are there. I don't know. Well, I know today that they're in LA, but I guess they got their people that listening on to your show, and maybe they can speak to it or something. I don't know if the government is still giving a stipend to certain people or what. But Mr. Sterling, I feel sorry for them people. I was talking to one woman. She told me she came up like 6:30, 6:45, and she made 15 CI for the whole day. She said she got put 6 out of that in her car for gas, back home. And that is her day pay. And she said she got pay rent, got pay light bill and water bill. And I don't know if the government or who's in charge are considering anything to assist these people during this slow time like this. Plus, they say that when it rains, they got pack up because the tent that they under, they got a big cut, a big tear in it or something, and the water floods them out and stuff, you know. And I was there and I was looking at them poor people, and someone said they bring their lunch because they can't afford to buy lunch, and someone buys their lunch from the shop across the street and stuff like that. But I was just wondering if you have any idea if the government still assists people with stipend that is in the tourism business, because these people that are down there, they really need help.
Yeah.
They really need help. I think last month, someone said that they made for the whole month 80 CI for the whole month, 100 US. Now how can they live off of that?
It makes you wonder sometimes.
These are the things, Mr. Sterling, that our government needs to look out to take care of their people, you know?
Yeah. Well, we'll inquire. We understand that COVID stipend has now ended, but it'll be no government continues to support men through the different agencies. So, as you said, that there is a need. But thank you, and let us just take this other call before the news, and then we can. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, evening, Dwayne.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, I got caught in the rain, man. I kind of was stuck here, but I was listening to Mr. Franklin there for years and years.
Yes, sir.
We have a serious problem with the parrots. I got 20 billion mango trees, and on the average I loses about 2,000-3,000 mangoes every year. Every year.
Wow.
I got my avocados. I got 15 avocados, and I loses avocados by the hundreds. You know. So it ain't nothing new. It ain't nothing that the government don't know. But what I would love to do, and the government wouldn't have to help me, give me a license to go ganja to set for medicine. Because at least the parrot not eating that. Not yet.
If they did, they'd certainly be flying high.
Right, no, but maybe if I can get off the deep that, they might leave a mangoes alone a little bit. Real Jordan and Kimmer Black, we have them. I watched something happen with the agriculture. I be taken as a joke. I watched the black lice form from down in Steak Bay with all of the mango trees that were loaded. And I mean, Morse and Julie, they could have called in the people to listen. We got spread this whole island. All the old bus feed the mango trees. And they just chopped some down in the hospital yard. And they let the thing spread right through the island. It's destroying papaya trees, mango trees. I had to get mine sprayed 2-3 times. But it could have been stopped because they've seen it happening. I went to them and said to them something, I can't do nothing about this, huh? I mean, it's okay. You can ask any Kimberbacker. Ask Mr. Albert to just call in. Stick Bay don't have a mango because the black lights kill them out. Well, the tree's still there, but it ruined the blossoms. Ask them about it, Kimberbacker. Ask them. But what, if I was in there and I see things happening, but then you got to love your country, you got to love your farming. You know, but what happened to us? We respect our representatives highly. We respect our representatives.
Yes, sir.
But our representatives do not respect us. And that's a serious thing. And I mean, I'm talking as I see it. As I see it. And one thing is lacking in the Cayman Islands amongst our representatives and our people. One, courage. Our representatives. I don't know why we fail with courage. Like Dr. Steve said, this is our country. You can't be one about standing up for your people. Don't care who the fence. If you come to my yard, Sterling, I don't like what you're doing, I'm going to tell you, Sterling, get out of my yard, please don't come back. Now, our voting system, our people is voting, we know who we're voting for, but we do not know what we are voting for. And that is a serious thing that our politician plays at. Now listen to me. I heard them running down the gays, the LGBT, right? Okay? That started?
Yes, sir.
Now they got a full month, okay, prize, right? 1 full month. And I get in big talk with people about this. Oh, you should be seeing yourself back in them people. I said, okay, anybody that has courage, I will back them. What they're doing is their business. How much of us ganja people will put on a T-shirt and walk down the road and say we won't go ganja? No, we don't have no courage. Courage. We don't have it. And the politicians know that. Listen, the referendum was supposed to be held on the first quarter, right? Right? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Half the year gone now, right? Half the year gone. And I don't hear nothing about it. And I am the only one that is balling out. People are going to go wake up on the eyes.
Yeah, man.
Anyhow, I hear a lot of people running for Kimberback. Each this time, make the more the merrier. Because God's willing, like Bob Marley said, egg, and I will be in the red. Thank you, Dwayne.
Okay, Mr. Elvis. Have a good afternoon, man. I hope you feel better. We'll get a little honey and some lime, and that might just, be the trick. Thanks, sir. All right, after news, please rejoin us. Dr. Dorman and her entourage will join us as we talk about World Food Safety Day. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. Consolidated Water and subsidiary Perk Water wins a $204 million contract to design, build, operate, and maintain a seawater desalination plant in Hawaii. This plant will be the 24th seawater reverse osmosis desal plant that Consolidated Water has constructed, and it's first in the U.S. In international headlines, the Associated Press says federal prosecutors are using a grand jury in Florida as part of their investigation into the possible mishandling of classified documents at former President Donald Trump's Palm Beach property. This is according to an unnamed source. The grand jury would be in addition to a separate panel that has been meeting in Washington for months now to consider charges against Trump over the retention of hundreds of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago and potential obstruction of government's efforts to reclaim the records. A Florida woman accused of fatally shooting her neighbor last week in the violent culmination of what the sheriff described as a 2.5-year feud was arrested Tuesday. 50-year-old Lawrence, who is white, was arrested on charges of manslaughter with a firearm, culpable negligence, battery, and 2 counts of assault in the death of A.J. Owens, a black mother of 4. Authorities came under pressure to arrest and charge the woman who fired through her front door and killed Owens in a case that has put Florida's divisive Stand Your Ground law back into the spotlight. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
HSA's cardiology clinic is now located at Smith Road Medical Center. Our cardiology team provides expert care and treatment for heart conditions such as coronary artery disease, heart failure, arrhythmias, hypertension, congenital heart diseases, among others. The new location offers state-of-the-art cardiac diagnostic testing, including echocardiograms, ECGs, and stress tests. To contact, call 949-8600. At HSA, your heart matters to us.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Olivine Louise Barnett. Olivine Barnett Nipari has lived an exemplary life and is a great example of humility. In her 20s and during the World War II years, she served as a youth missionary to Jamaica for 9 years. She returned to Grand Cayman and continued her work in the Wesleyan Holiness Church, formerly Pilgrim Holiness in West Bay. She is known throughout the Cayman Islands for playing the mandolin, reciting poetry, and singing. She has made a great contribution to the memory bank of the Cayman Islands National Archive, where her narrative has been transcribed. She and her husband, William Osborne Barnett Jr., had 6 children.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. In a few minutes now to join our good friends as we talk about World Food Safety Day. For our listeners, I want you to stay tuned, listen, pay attention. We'll suspend the phone calls just for now as we welcome Dr. Samantha Dorman. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Good
afternoon. I'm doing very well, thanks. How are you today?
Oh, excellent. You know, our acting senior veterinary officer, you know, maybe they say all men are dogs, so maybe before you leave, you can write me a script.
Well, I
better.
do have a dog story to share today, so
You should, yeah.
come into it somehow.
We're going to work it in.
We'll work it in.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
great to be here. Thank you for having us once again.
It was a pleasure to always partner, you know, with our fellow civil servants across the various agencies, and to be mindful and reminded that a small community with great resources, with incredible access, and it's only when we travel or live and work in other places that we realize how much we take for granted. So through you, Mom, can we introduce the team? Should we go with the handsome gentleman first, or the dynamic lady?
Definitely go with the ladies first.
Yeah, I think so. Right to left, left to right.
Yeah, I'll let my colleagues from the Department of Environmental Health introduce themselves and state a little bit about the capacity in which they work, and yeah.
All right, let's go on.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Karen Crossman Johnson, and I am the manager for environmental health in the Department of Environmental Health. So my responsibilities include ensuring that the programs go well, as you'd imagine. I have a staff complement of 15 wonderful environmental health officers and environmental health assistants that give me very good support. And there are 3 program areas that we concentrate on. They're district sanitation, food safety, and port health and quarantine.
Yeah, and that perhaps the last part maybe we could talk to as a play, but we'll get there if you choose to. So Robson?
Hi, my name's Mark Robson. I'm an environmental health officer. That's my official title. Some people might call me a food inspector or a food safety officer. I get called all sorts of things. Probably lots of different things behind my back, but
I made a list.
But my role principally is to help enforce the food safety programs that we have, which would include things like going out to food businesses, restaurants, hotels, supermarkets, schools, hospitals, anywhere that's producing food for sale to the public. We go and we do our inspections to make sure that they come up to the hygiene standards that we have here in Cayman.
And I think, staying with you, when we see the approach to food, even individual within our own homes, many of us, we practice good hygiene. Some for religious purposes. We won't let the knife that we cut the pork also cut the fish. Or we'll prep on one side with the vegetables on the other side, without even thinking about it, because it was the practice that we saw our parents and grandparents, and maybe we just picked it up, and then as time goes on, we appreciate, oh, that makes good sense. But it's not just doing it casually or almost religiously. It's doing it because it's deliberate, conscious, to avoid any potential foodborne illnesses.
Yeah, the difference between preparing at home is that you're preparing for a family, 3, 4, 5 people maybe. When you then go up in numbers to trying to prepare for 200, 300, 400 people, a lot of those practices that we use get stressed and pressured. And so what I try to do is to see how those businesses operate when they're under pressure, because if something goes wrong in the house, then you're making 1 or 2 people sick, which is bad, obviously. But if it goes wrong in a restaurant or a hotel, there could be an outbreak of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus who end up in hospital with the symptoms of food poisoning. So that's principally what we're trying to prevent.
And with that, again, as we work our way back around the table, I was thinking that even in that family gathering, whether it's a nice, large family Sunday afternoon dinner, it's a particular, fellowship amongst them to celebrate something, it may not be 4 or 5, it could be 40 or 50.
Absolutely, yeah.
But there's an issue of liability as well. Your family will be, sick, and you'll be concerned, and there's an issue, but they may not sue you. I mean, some families do, but that potential litigant in the restaurant, the hotel, or other place might be encouraged for other reasons, not just the monetary. So there's that issue as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We live in an increasingly litigious age. You just need to look at the press of what goes on in the US and other countries as to see everyone's first call is often to a lawyer rather than to a...
Here's to my road, but...
that's right, absolutely, yeah.
Go Central!
If people make complaint out in the social media, it spreads very, very quickly. And I try to say to restaurants, look, reputation is everything. You take a long time to build up a reputation as a good food business, and that could be torn down through food poisoning, or if there was found a roach in food, or the chicken was undercooked, all these things. So that's what we're trying to do.
So with that in mind, then, forgive me, Dr. Norman, as I asked Mr. Robson one more. We have the food trucks, which is a relatively new phenomenon for this market. But we have the established restaurant. It may be a takeout with a small sit down. It may be takeout only, but it's a physical structure. And then over the years, potentially a growing practice where some of us will cook somewhere, put it in our cars, maybe it's in the trunk, back seat, and we'll take it to construction sites. We take it to the side of the road somewhere, and people will come and say, oh, that's Mr. John or that's Mrs. Jane, and we'll buy it. But I wanted to, for two sort of perspectives. One, the potential licensing that government may be deprived and its revenue for its budget and the like. But secondly, the liability, the inspection, the anti-competitive nature that the restaurateur may say, hey, I know I'm paying for retail space, I'm paying for this license, but this person or these people are doing this not just ad hoc, but every Friday, every Monday morning, whatever day it is. Is that an issue, first of all, in the Cayman context?
It is very much an issue.
Okay.
And it's one that we're addressing in terms of working with Department of Commerce and Investment. And who gets a trade and business license, first of all, how they get it. They have supposed to comply with environmental health standards.
Right.
For those who have a trade and business license, there are those who are operating without a trade and business license. If that was the case, then DCI have enforcement officers, and we work with them to highlight those people. We're not trying to put businesses down. We want people to be able to do things, but to do it in the right way, because the customer, which is the key, requires that whatever the food tastes like and how much it costs, that food should be safe and prepared under safe hygienic conditions. So we as officers need to be able to go and have a look, and we advise and we give information, and if we take action if necessary. But that's the purpose. But it's especially since COVID, interestingly, a lot of people now with the economy are struggling, and they're thinking, okay, how can I earn a bit more money? I'll start a little food business, because we all know how to cook. Or we think we do.
We all need to eat, no?
Well, absolutely. You know, and with a rising population, all these factors can go. Okay, so the food industry is expanding hugely.
And I guess I'll come back to you in a second, because I think that is something that you touched on, and I wonder to what extent, not just from the competition aspect, the restaurateur, hey, I'm going through all these things, I'm satisfying the criteria, but this person comes and does this thing. The consumer might be okay. We're all familiar with the famous case in the UK of over a century now, where in the ginger beer, look what happened to the plaintiff in that case, right?
Well, the ginger beer, that's a new one for me. So
okay, I'll share it with you another day. But that was then, and the context of today. If a person, a restaurateur, licensed or fully sort of inspected and regulated and has all the certification, sees a potential vendor on an ad hoc basis or every other Friday or the like operating, forgive me, out of the car trunk, for instance, what do they do? How, can they do anything? Who do they call?
They can call us.
And you guys will respond?
And we will investigate and try and find out who these people are, which may be easier said than done, but we will do that, and then we will liaise with DCI and those kind of things to try and get a strategy.
We'll come back to you and ask you, because it's not about complaining, it's about finding solutions. So we'll ask for a number, maybe they take a photo or a video instead of posting on social media, they send it to you.
Absolutely.
But Ms. Crossman-Johnson, from that perspective, as we go back around, food safety, and we celebrate World Food Safety today. I don't know about anybody else, but I enjoy food. I love, I think, to cook as much as I enjoy the fellowship of and the company of eating. But we want the food to not only taste good, look good, smell good, but at the end of the day, not make us sick.
Yes.
I mean, even if we eat too much, we still don't want to be sick. So, as a manager of environmental health, how does this fit into those 3 years that you spoke of, especially that last one? But talk to us.
Okay. So we are under the Ministry of Health, right? And one of the mandates of the Ministry of Health is to assure health of the population that we serve. So in terms of food safety, we don't want individuals, as we keep saying, to get ill. So because of that, we try to ensure through the environmental health program that anything in the environment, anything outside of the person that can cause the individual to be ill, the environmental health department monitors those. And one of those things is food.
So in addition to the actual food prep, maybe we'll look at the kitchen, the whole thing.
So for the food handling program, there is active surveillance, which means the officers go around from day to day just to check, to monitor the food handling establishments that we're aware of. And there are also other activities like the inspection of food containers, imported food containers, that is done to ensure that the food that is coming to the consumers from abroad is safe. And then we have our food handlers training as well. So we just don't have these persons out there operating. They are required to be trained. They're required to be certified food handlers. So that too. And if there happens to be a foodborne illness incident, we participate in the investigation of it, and we also have some enforcement activities that we carry out.
Enforcement, but come back to the concept, and I think we all can appreciate the importance of the public's engagement from, reporting something not with the intent to sue or not with the intent to malign, but with the intent to make sure we address and correct. So that commercial establishment, whether it's through a hotel or just some other standalone restaurant, the enforcement, the inspection, it's one thing to have regulation, but to what extent are we sufficiently resourced to ensure the safety of the food that's coming out of that kitchen?
Well, in terms of resources, history will speak for itself. And I'm sure you haven't heard about us having any recent foodborne illness outbreak. And one of the other things I forgot to mention was that for all special events, those are monitored. Those events that would have hundreds or thousands of persons consuming food, those are strictly monitored, because it's through those that we can have some serious foodborne illness outbreaks.
So like food festivals or even some other sort of event where food is on sale.
Right. Those are all monitored. Officers are there for the entire event, for the entire duration.
Right.
And for example, with Taste of Cayman recently, using that as a big... we worked very closely with the organisers. We required that the food handlers are trained on our basic food hygiene course, which they get a certificate for. We have some guidelines which we send out. We had pre-event meetings where we gave them more information, and then we were there on the day going around checking.
So lots of mitigating steps.
Oh, we do. Obviously, the onus is on them to handle the food correctly, but we do what we can to give them all the information and resources that they need.
And that's key, Dr. Dorman. We can have the protocols, we can provide the training, we can do all of the things to help to mitigate against any potential sort of food illness and the like. But then us as the food purveyor, what then and how do we ensure that we take on board that training, we deploy those strategies to ensure that it's a wonderful experience, so one-off little food thing, or it's your going concern and you want to be not just the first day, but 100 years from now, still be, sort of celebrated.
I think continuous education and awareness is really important, and the recognition that we all have a role to play in safeguarding food. It's not just a regulatory or governmental or, investigative type exercise, but from farmers, the inputs, clean water, ensuring that they're using good agricultural products for what's going into what we're consuming, all the way throughout the food supply chain, storage, adequate cooling, the consumers being able to be aware of what safe food looks like and doesn't look like. And then once it's in our possession, maintaining it in such a way that it remains safe prior to consumption. So we all have that kind of risk management role to play. And I'm really grateful that Ms. Crossman-Johnson touched on the fact that without food safety, there's no food security and there's no health and well-being.
Yeah.
So if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, you know, quite a few of them speak to aspects where food safety is, you know,
Right.
a big component. And with climate change as well, that will have impacts on the food that we eat, the conditions in which crops are grown, animals are raised,
Yeah.
the conditions in which these organisms can thrive that cause us to get sick. And just to throw some statistics out there, over 4 million people die each year from foodborne disease globally, and almost half of those are children. And that's caused by about 200 different diseases, which could range from causing diarrhea to different types of cancers. And then the financial burden of that, you know, you're looking at billions and billions of dollars per year. So there really is a lot of opportunity for us to take this seriously, and a lot of reasons why we need to just not overlook these basic practices that we utilize and we can implement from the household level right back to the production stage.
Yeah, and as I listen, I'm very, very appreciative of what you were sharing, Dr. Norman, in that it's as much as I was emphasizing the food within, say, restaurants and the like, we need to consider, you know, the sourcing. And what is it that we're told? You can have a great recipe, but if you don't have great ingredients and prepare it in the right way, how good will that meal be? So for our listeners then, and maybe that would be on restaurateur, to that person who is considering working in this sector or is in the sector, are there particular considerations that we should be concerned about to ensure the food quality and the food safety, from its sourcing, you know, to its serving?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of regulation that goes into imported foodstuffs, and that's, you know, something that the Department of Agriculture plays an active role in, ensuring that the requirements are met for entry, that the appropriate documentation is accompanying the consignments, you know, certificates of wholesomeness, phytosanitary certificates. Also just encouraging farmers to, you know, not send animals to the abattoir that have been recently treated with any medications or drugs which could impact the health of the consumer. So those are some of the mitigating steps there. And I think in terms of our relationship with Department of Environmental Health, the abattoir is probably a really good example of how we collaborate together to ensure that. So from the ante-mortem inspection of the animals by our veterinarians, just looking out for any clinical signs of illness that could impact consumption, all the way through to inspection of the carcass and the internal organs to ensure that they're not entering the supermarkets or the meat shops. So I don't know if you want to touch on that a little bit. You toured our abattoir this morning,
Yes,
didn't you?
did.
Did you have some fresh meat for you to get?
Well, yes. Okay. Just to add, though, while, you know, Dr. Dorman was speaking, something I should have mentioned is that food safety, and as you are insinuating based on our conversations so far, food safety is not a standalone effort.
No, not used to do it.
Right.
Being very deliberate.
Yes. And in terms of our collaborative effort, and it's good that you have us in the room because we collaborate very well. And Dr. Dorman just mentioned a good example. I know that in the past, persons were slaughtering animals in
Under
conditions that were not
backyard.
suitable under trees and so on. And through collaboration, because Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Dorman's veterinary department, right, is responsible for the health of the animal, right? And if you don't have healthy animals, then you can't have safe food.
Yeah.
So in that sphere, then we have that aspect being dealt with by the veterinary
From a preventative
department from the preventative standpoint. And then when the animal becomes meat, which is now food, then we ensure its safety through inspections
And also, go ahead. You finish up.
Okay, so Dr. Dorman would have ensured that we have healthy animals coming in to be slaughtered. They're slaughtered, then we will do the inspection of the animals at the slaughterhouse, and we follow it right through until it gets to your table. You know, we stop at the source of the sale.
Purchase.
Right.
And also, I just want to add too that our abattoir team, every year they're recertified as food handlers through the training that's so graciously offered through the Department of Environmental Health. So they play an integral role in this too, which is more onus to, you know, make sure that you're sourcing food that's going through an environment where there's proper training, there's proper hygiene and sanitation being adhered to, and there's that education and awareness of the actual handlers, as opposed to, you know, what was being done years ago, like you mentioned.
And just on that training point, talking about the collective responsibility, we think that education is getting across to the people, because the most important people for food safety are the ones who are working in the kitchen. You know, I can be there once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year doing inspections, but they're there 5, 6, 7 days a week. So by doing our hygiene training course, which covers all the aspects of food handling, from cross-contamination, cleaning, personal hygiene, the importance of hand washing. Hand washing itself is so important, and teaching people about that sort of thing, the temperature control, all these basic elements of how to run a good food business. The food industry by nature has a huge turnover in staff, and obviously since COVID, that has been exponential. And so, you know, me spending a day training 30 or 40 food handlers is
a drop.
Just fantastic.
A drop in the bucket.
But accumulative over time, it means that I'm influencing those people as they work in the industry, rather than me going there and saying, do this, do that, teaching them on a course. And getting the management involved, that's the key, because they're the ones who are running the business. They buy into the whole food safety is important, because without food safety, you've got unhappy customers. You've got people who are going to either complain, or they're going to be in hospital, or they're going to be going to the GP or whatever. So that's never good news for them.
And you may have an unsuccessful business.
And reputation is everything, because there are so many food businesses out there now. I think in Cayman we say, or we like to bill ourselves as the culinary capital of the Caribbean. Not easy to say.
Do you think we are?
I haven't been to all of the Caribbean, but I think we have some very, very good restaurants here.
Yes, we do.
Excellent
I've been
restaurants
to a
here.
number of countries.
And the variety of restaurants we have is huge.
Which is a reflection of the demographic as well, right?
And I worked for many years in London. And I
sorry about that.
Well, you know, it is what it is. But I think I've seen far worse things in London than I've seen here in terms of food hygiene standards. I think generally we're doing a great job, both the industry itself and as working together with them.
Well, I'm glad you shared that. And as we're going through the break, I'm minded to share, as you just did. You know, the evolution of formal and proper abattoir is great but we can think back to decades ago when it was under the tree, but the men primarily, there were a few women. I can think of, Miss Thomason, and then she, probably the senior butcher in her own shop. They understood. They did it because it was the sensible, right thing to do. It was safe. It was an established practice. In absence of, the abattoirs we see other ways, they had a good facility, even though it was under the tree, and their access to it. But we've now evolved, we've now become modern and developed, and that safety is still paramount. So when we come back from the break, as we talk about World Food Safety Day, help us to appreciate it. It's not just about the economic sense, the societal purpose, but the ethos of proper food handling and safety. All right, join us after the break.
How can you make a classic BLT sandwich even better? Well, by adding tuna. Wow. The land meets the sea in Subway's new sandwich, the Tuna BLT, available for a limited time. The Tuna BLT is exploding with flavor. Imagine crispy, juicy bacon strips on top of tuna, fresh lettuce, and slices of tomato, topped with your favorite sauce and choice of freshly baked bread. Enjoy the best of both worlds with the Tuna BLT from Subway. Subway, eat fresh.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At Valley Med Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit Valley Med Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with Valley Med Pharmacy.
Why replace when you can respray? At Granite Express Cayman, we can completely transform your old kitchen cabinets with a fresh kitchen respray for just a fraction of the cost of buying new ones. Big news! Our summer special promo is here. We are offering kitchen countertop specials up to 50 square feet installed for only $1,595 CI for granite and $1,895 for quartz. We can make your dream kitchen come true and at a price to suit all budgets. Call 922-0424 for a free estimate, friendly service, fast installation. Hurry! Limited time only while supplies last. Visit GraniteExpressCayman.com. Tune in Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. for the Daily Sports Report, covering local, regional, and international sports. Proudly brought to you by Dr. Wayne Porter, offering a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks again, for this opportunity to celebrate World, Food Safety Day. We'll have another 10-15 minutes. Maybe we'll squeeze 20. Who knows? But we will suspend the phone calls just for now in order to share the information. I'm very grateful to Dr. Samantha Dorman, the acting senior, veterinary officer. I could almost say chief agricultural veterinary officer. Go back to the old legislation, but I won't do that one. But thank you, and thanks to Mr. Mark Robertson together with Ms. Crossman Johnson, and now make sure I do it, Ms. Yolanda.
Yes, Yolanda Morales
Carvalho.
Carvalho from the Department of Environmental.
Thank you for joining us as well, and it's great as we talk about the synergy, the collaboration, the cooperation, the sense that from the client's perspective, that consumer, we are sensitive and considerate of their dining experience. Not only that it's enjoyable, but it's safe, and if they overindulge, you know what, they come back the next day and do it again because they feel confident.
Because sometimes we as customers take for granted a lot of things. But the fact that we can go out and have dinner and celebrate probably birthdays or something like that is, and we don't get sick, is actually because we are doing a good job. And I always tell my colleagues about it. I'm very proud to belong to the team. And I know all of them are very humble, but they play a critical role in what is food safety within the Cayman Islands. Also, our officers in Grand Cayman, in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, they are very dedicated. These are people that have to get up very early, like how we experienced this morning. We had a wonderful experience when we went to the Avatar. And I have to give kudos to the team from agriculture because their facilities are amazing. The way how their team take care of it
and the passion that they display when they do their job. They are very proud, and you know, they take pride in what they do. They're passionate about it, and that is important. And the synergy between them and our officers, because in that case, how you all explain, agriculture do the pre and we do the post inspection. And I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing that all these things happen in what people may describe as a small island. But how we had said before, we lead in many aspects, and we need sometimes to blow our own trumpets. And probably that's what I decided to work in, because I know everybody here in studio, they are very humble and they are very dedicated. But I want to also recognize the job that they do and the way how they do it.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that, because, you know, as Mr. Robson was just sharing, you know, the culinary Captain of the Caribbean, it's not just a marketing or sort of a tag, you know, it's an aspiration. It's when we look at the events that we have where food in Cayman is integral to, you know, our coming together, whether it's in the house with the family celebrating 4 people of 40, or it's a festival, you know, in town or somewhere else. That sense of sort of almost expectation that it's going to be a safe from the perspective of crime, but the food handling, preparation, and serving. And as I was asking Ms. Karen earlier, ensure that we deploy the resources that continues from the handler to the consumer, that is the norm, that bar. And we have high standards for a small place. So, Dr. Dorman, from that perspective, I mean, not only should we blow our trumpets, but we should ensure that ethos is one that is not only shared, inculcated, but championed in such a way that whenever there's a departure, there is, quote unquote, a social sanction. You know, whether it's the restaurant who did something or it's the individual, that is not, you know, not to be unexpected if you're, quote unquote, called out, because that's not what we are, what we want. And your work is important to that.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, I think this is a good time to speak about the recently approved Cayman Islands Food and Nutrition Security Policy, which we've been working on for quite a number of years, but most recently since about 2020. And that will provide a lot of legislative and policy, you know, oomph for us to be able to continue the great work that we're doing, but to operationalize it a little bit more and to hold everyone to a bit of a higher standard. And that's what's needed, you know, everything from the policy making down to the training, down to the education and awareness of the consumer, and then also just the onus on them, you know, ensuring that they're storing their food properly and whatnot.
If I may ask, and it's not meant to be inflammatory and not meant to be defamatory, none of those things, but picking up on what you're sharing relative to the high standards that we want, the continued training, not just for the abattoir workers, but offered to food handlers, the desire to constantly raise the bar. We know in some jurisdictions and in some cultures, we're casual with certain things. You know, that's okay. Or we are expectant that in order for something to be facilitated, there needs to be some sort of measure of compensation, put it that way. So in the Cayman context, whether it's because we have anti-corruption legislation, the standards in public life, or the like, is it a shared belief that the ethos is that whether it's a restaurateur, whether it's an employee on this side of the equation, if there was some sort of overture of, well, you know, I'll turn a blind eye for this, do you think we are at a stage where we say, no, that's not the norm, that's going to be quickly quashed? Or is it like some places where, like my friends, they say, you know, if you want your license to be approved for the business, you better know who to talk to and quickly. See him in New York, see him in many places. What Mr. Robson, what would you say to that?
Well, I have no experience of that at all. We have very strict guidelines on what, not even guidelines, are they? They're requirements of how you operate. And there's ways of doing things. And when you want to get a license, you have to jump through a number of hoops, through a number of different departments. So, for example, if someone wanted to start a new food business, they have to apply for a trade and business license. and they have to fulfill all the criteria for that.
Mm.
But then they also have to comply with our requirements. We have a set of guidelines and requirements that we get from various food codes and things like that. And then they make an application to us. They have to tick every box. And then once they've approved, depending on what type of business they are, as what requirements they have, then they would get approved.
Mhm.
Once they are approved, they become then part of the ongoing monitoring program.
Mhm.
So somebody then, like myself, would come along and do an inspection to make sure that they don't pose a risk to health.
Mhm.
So we'd be looking at all those factors, like so cross-contamination, cleaning, storage, temperature control, all those things. And we go through and do it like that. And then if they're great, satisfactory report. If there's got some works that are outstanding, then we'll write them up, and then they have a certain amount of time to get those works done.
Yeah. And I gather it applies to storage as well of, your dry goods and the like.
Every aspect of food handling. So from the front door all the way through to the garbage at the back is part of that premise's responsibility. But then if you go back further in terms of the food chain, the wholesaler, the supplier, where are they getting their food from?
Right.
So we'd be looking at that. So we look at the wholesalers, and then going back further, the wholesalers, where are they getting the food from? Which is where the imported container program comes in, because that's the start of it. So at every step, we have to have eyes on the process. Now, there's obviously thousands of food containers that come in over a year. And we try and get to see as many certainly of the chilled and the frozen ones where there's going to be the greater risk.
So we just discuss sampling to make sure.
So when we go to look at imported containers at the various wholesalers and supermarkets and things like that, we're looking for what was the temperature during the course of the transit. They will have a digital thermometer that tells you from the moment that door was shut in Miami all the way through to offloading. That temperature recorder will say, was it within scope? If it's gone too high, like for example, sometimes a container might get unplugged on board for a day, or it might break down. That thermometer will tell us if there's a problem, and if we do that, then we will look at what's in the container and go, okay, you know what, these 10 pallets are high risk foods, dairy, meats, fish, any chicken, poultry, anything like that. We would have to condemn those.
So then, sorry, Ms. Carla, as you share, and I recognize the cue for the break, but would be inappropriate to interject before. We're looking at the restaurants, but even the supermarkets. So if for whatever reason the supplier, as it loads on the ship or even the aircraft, and it gets there, there's an issue. Once it hits the supermarket,
well, that food chain from farm from farm to fork, that's what that's the phrase. And the restaurant could be doing everything in its power, but if something has gone wrong in the steps prior to that, they're going to have a problem, potentially.
And likewise, the consumer who goes into the supermarket,
and then the consumer is the last to get that. So everything has to be. So that's why I explain to everybody in the training that we do is, don't think that you're not important in the food chain. You may be the cleaner, you may be the sous chef, you may be the cook. You have a vital responsibility in the chain, because your customer is the only one who's going to eat that food.
And this is crucial, I think, as we look at it. We're not just talking about a restaurant, but if you're buying something out of your supermarket, you give your confidence that it's fit for consumption.
Well, that's what we are trying to achieve, and the supermarkets here have some very good processes that they really do. So
internal control.
All right. Please let me just quickly pause. I know when you come back we can wrap the discussion up. Over to our friend at the controls. It's not a camera flight, but it feels the same. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline. Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cabin Cafe Conriche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Health behaviours and lifestyle choices such as diet and smoking can be risk factors for non-communicable diseases. The STEPS 2023 National Health Survey will allow the Ministry of Health and Wellness to gather important data on the health of the nation, including these risk factors. This information will inform our plans for the health needs of Cayman's residents, allowing us to better serve our population. Learn more by logging on to www.gov.ky/steps.
The hurricane season is here. Are you ready? If not, now is the time to prepare. Follow the Water Authority on social media for important announcements and survival tips throughout the hurricane season. You can download free preparedness brochures from the Water Authority's website, www.waterauthority.ky. Be aware, be safe, be prepared.
Mommy, why can't dogs talk? Why do I have to go to school and you don't? Why do you sing in the morning when you're bad at it? Why don't you brush your teeth when you take me to school? Why doesn't it ever snow here? Why does Daddy take the bus to work? Why are trees so tall? Why don't you tell me where babies come from? Mommy, Mommy, Mommy!
We're like a kid that doesn't ask a million questions before noon. CG Britke. Good like that.
Remember to discard all fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, all foods in canisters, dented, leaking or rusting cans after they have come in contact with floodwater. Also discard foods that are stored in cardboard boxes, paper foil, cellophane, and cloth, as well as those in open containers and packages.
For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DAH website at www.gov.ky/DAH.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And, another 8 or so minutes, and then we'll have some open line after the headline news at 2. But as we talk about World Food Safety Day, Dr. Dorman, thank you, and to all the team. Food, maybe we should redefine Shakespeare's word and say if food will be the essence of life, eat on. Maybe we'll say it that way. Because food brings us together.
It does.
And
it's an underpinning factor for so much of how we live our lives, and the decisions that we make, the habits that we form, the way that we spend our time and our money. And like I said previously, it's the common thread throughout all the Sustainable Development Goals. Food and agriculture is related directly to almost each one of those. And I just wanted to touch on the need for us to realize the One Health approach that has to go into maintaining food safety and ultimately public health. And that, multi-stakeholder approaches and collaboration, such as, between our two entities, are what's going to make it possible for us to ensure that those statistics that I mentioned earlier are not contributed too significantly by, the Cayman Islands population. I mean, obviously we don't want it to be anyone to be impacted, but I'm just really thankful and proud of all the work that's going on island between our two entities, and just like the synergistic relationship that we have, and ensuring that our public can go out to brunch and Taste of Cayman and all the different festivals and public eating spaces and not have that fear.
I mean, and we take it for granted sometimes, and it's great that I believe, with the greatest respect to every other place, within our people, a shared ethos, from the church grouping to the PTAs, that we do these things, but it's good to know that we have the resource and the training. I was going to reference One Health, I wrote it down. There's another term that I was trying to rack my brain, and I didn't want to go online to the search thing because I don't care for that so much. But the practice of the farmers way back when, where the cow was on the pasture and then the chickens are brought in to do that, and then the birds coming in to keep rotating it. There's a term for that somehow, but maybe you experts would know what I'm referring to. But that's that whole practice of
integrated agricultural practices.
Is that what it is?
I think
Yeah,
that's what
something
you're talking about.
Yeah.
So like using the manure and different.
And then move it
parts
around
of
it, and then
enterprise and rotating through the crops, and
it makes sense because
it's sustainability.
And this was something that was probably practiced for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
Now they
didn't even think about it. They just did it, and now we're putting terms on
the little bugs that came up to take care of the manure from
the
that
entire ecosystem,
and it's all healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the animal is healthy, and then the consumer is healthy. I want to reference that to maybe not so much speak to common sense, but the idea of speaking to people with sense. So, Michelanda, from that perspective, your education, your PR, your, sort of reminded to the public from the way we put out a refuse to this collection day, that we play a role,
We do, each one of us.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe that we all are connected and we all play a critical role. So yes, you have the prevention aspect, you have the surveillance, but who is taking that food home? Who is making sure, like, if you guys did the right thing and then the other team do the right thing, but I take that box of food home and I leave it in the car, I don't know for how long, and then I get sick, it's because I did something wrong. The role that I was playing, I didn't do my part. And I can't blame anybody else. So everybody have to be responsible for themselves.
Yes.
Yes, it's a collective responsibility, and it have to be seen like that. We need, if we want change, we need to be part of that change. Mark was talking about the chain. Each one of us is one part of that chain. And if one of us drop what we're supposed to do, it will affect the end result.
As strong as the weakest link.
Exactly. So we are all connected, and we need to understand that we all have a role to play, and is important. Not any other role is more important than the one that I play, and I may have no control about what the other people are doing, but I have control of what I am doing. So I will make sure that when I purchase, for example, that box of food, I take it home and I take care and of that chain, so I will remain healthy.
I think it's a good time to recognize one of the projects that Department of Environmental Health is involved in, and it's the Lunchbox Food Safety Initiative. I don't know if any one of you wants to touch on that.
I can just talk about that. Food that we prepare at home for others out of the home brings in a whole realm of potential issues. First off, it was the food prepared correctly in the first place? Was there any cross-contamination? Are you cutting up ready-to-eat foods on the same board that you've used for raw foods? So that immediately presents a food safety issue right there. But then you've got the thing of when I'm putting the pack together, when is it going to be eaten? How far away from preparation is it actually going to be eaten? Is it 2 hours? Is it 3 hours? Is it 4 hours? Have I put an ice pack in there? Is it going to last the length of time? It may be that you need to put in 2 ice packs. We try to educate preschools and schools to help storage, but ultimately they don't have massive fridges that they can put every lunchbox in. So it's the responsibility of the parent to put in the right kind of ice packs and have an insulated box, not just a paper bag or anything like that, if it's going to be 3 or 4 hours, because there's a potential with temperature control, because ambient temperatures are perfect for rapid growth of bacteria. That's one of the things we have. If we all lived in Iceland, we could leave food out all day long and it wouldn't make any difference, but it's really hot here, and bacteria love the ambient temperatures that we have, and they're getting hotter as well. So it's
climate change.
So that use of insulated boxes, ice packs, packing the food properly, and then the time frame is essential for safety in that especially for little kids, because their immune system is not as strong. So if they get a bout of food poisoning, they could be in serious condition.
I think this is where having these discussions, there's so much that we take for granted. It's a shared practice, but have you thought about that sandwich with some sort of added,
mayonnaise?
Yeah,
Well, a sandwich can contain any of the what we call high-risk foods,
yes,
which are those that rapidly support bacteria, which would be meat, fish, poultry, dairy, so anything with cheeses in it, seafood. Did I say them all?
Yeah, I think so.
And some people don't realise that that corned beef sandwich has the potential to allow bacterial growth if it was prepared on a board where someone had cut up raw chicken, hadn't cleaned the board properly, and now you make that sandwich, salmonella bacteria from the raw chicken could get onto that corned beef sandwich, and then someone eats it 4 hours later and they could get sick. So
Dr. Roman, I hope that we can have these continued discussions, not only like we did in the past with One Health, but get us appreciative. We have the time, but I recognize the hour, and unlike you, I'm at work. You need to get back to it.
This is work. It's remotely.
Oh, this is lunch remotely.
I thought this was fun. It's work.
But yeah, the importance of the One Health approach is just so critical to all that we do, and just recognizing, like my colleague was saying, that everything's interconnected. And I have a great One Health story of a client of ours who has a peanut detector dog as a service dog for his daughter, who has a very severe peanut allergy.
Wow.
And he's a Belgian Malinois, and he spends about half of his
the dog
year.
Is not the father. Okay.
He spends about half the year here in the Cayman Islands and the other half in the U.S. and on their travels. He goes everywhere with their daughter. And originally he was trained as a bomb detector dog, but he was not very good at that role. And so they had him up for sale, and this family said, I wonder if we can teach him to sniff out peanuts, once they recognized that their daughter had this really severe allergy. And he's been with the family for many years now, and he's playing a role as well in ensuring food safety for that one person. So speaking of One Health, you're getting humans, animals, everyone together in their shared environment, just to ensure that we can all keep safe and maintain public health.
That's what it's about, man. Thank you.
So go Trapper. His name's Trapper.
Trapper? Trapper John MD? People going, how old is that guy? Oh, he get that way. I'm his age too. But thank you all very much. And I really would love to have you back on when you wish, as we talk about these things. Thanks very much, Ms. Yolanda. I've always enjoyed your press releases. One of the few I read. No, it's kidding. I read them all.
But we try to keep people informed, and I want to thank you for all the support and helping us actually voice all those messages, because we are very we want to raise awareness. We want people to know about our services, because we are here for them. We are here to serve the people, actually.
Not only U.S. President Ronald Reagan talked about, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you.
Just remember, I would like for everybody who's listening to remember that food safety, it might be a slogan that is used, is everybody's business. It really is everybody's business. From the farm
to
the fork.
Yeah.
So we need to ensure that we do all that's within our powers to ensure that we are consuming safe foods. And I want to mention too that in the Department of Environmental Health, we have the engineering department that works along with us to ensure that the structural aspects of the food handling establishments are on par. And we also have a laboratory that does our verification for us. So even though we'll go out and we'll check these establishments, we have routine sampling of foods, and we do our verification work just to ensure that the food is safe. So
you know what? We take so much for granted because sometimes it's seamless and because it unfolds in such a way that we don't have to have any concerns. Thank you for that. Continue to do that effort, and maybe as a populace, we would appreciate that this is for overall health, economic, as well as physical. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Do your best to keep your hair dry. I've been working at it, so it's going to be good.
Looks like it's working for you.
After the break, join us for the open line.
Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman Islands. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Spread the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Brought to you by Tropical Plaza on Smith Road.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. A warning from the Mosquito Research and Control Unit to expect a significant increase in mosquitoes by the end of the week. Even with the annual pre-hatch treatment, the recent rains, we're told, will lead to a large emergence of adult mosquitoes in the coming days. MRCU does hope to have things back to normal levels before the end of next week. In international headlines, Pope Francis was admitted to the hospital for intestinal surgery today, the latest malady to befall the 86-year-old pontiff, who had part of his colon removed 2 years ago. The Vatican says Pope Francis was expected to be put under general anesthesia for the procedure and remain at a Roman hospital for several days. The Pope was suffering from a recurrent, painful, and worsening hernia that formed over a previous scar, presumably from his 2021 colon surgery. The government of Belize has warned holders of gaming licenses that they must comply with all licensing requirements and conditions, as it revoked the licenses of 2 gaming companies due to non-compliance with the licensing requirements and conditions. The Ministry of Investment said the license for Caribbean Gaming Company Limited, Fantasy 5, would not be renewed and should cease operations on the 8th of June. The ministry also said that similar action had been taken against the company 369 Gaming Company as of March 31st this year. This makes sales of lottery tickets from either company illegal, and it is an offense for any establishment to sell illegal lottery tickets. Anyone caught doing so faces fines. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Brought to you by Tropical Plaza on Smith Road. Tropical Plaza Variety Store. From knickknacks to quick snacks, odds and ends, and that convenient fix. Across from Cayman Prep, Smith Road in Tropical Plaza. Tropical Plaza Variety Store. A corner store with so much more. Tropical Plaza Variety Store. Tropical Plaza on Smith Road.
Between the traffic, the meetings, kids' activities, there just isn't enough time. Best Health Pharmacy was a game changer. Not only are they centrally located on Eastern Avenue, but they deliver prescriptions for free anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. I could not believe it. When my prescription ran out, they ran it back to me. Best Health Pharmacy, located at Crown Square Plaza on Eastern Avenue, across from Edie's Decor, offering free prescription delivery anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. Call 949-1301 or WhatsApp your prescription to 924-5358. Best Health Pharmacy. Your health, your convenience is their priority.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And if it's still Wednesday, after that break, it might have changed. Well, we invite you to be a part of our discussion. It's going to be open line, and whatever you wish to talk about, give us a shout and share your thoughts. 949-8037. We're told all of our access points are available. So, and the number you want to call, 949-8037, 949-6990. Toll free with the compliments of flow at 1-800-534-8255. You want to WhatsApp call us? You can actually answer that 925-32-621 and share your thoughts with us. A lot, I think, is happening within our society, We see our Parliament in session today, a number of private members' motions and questions are part of the order paper, as it were. And maybe as a populace, we're paying attention. I think it's commendable that we have access to go into our legislative assembly and listen to the proceedings as they unfold. We can hear them live on our sister station here at Radio Cayman or Breeze FM, or we can access it later as it's recorded and placed somewhere in that metaverse or wherever that is these days. And for some of us, we rely on media accounts. We rely on our family members and friends who, for the most part, perhaps may pay closer attention. But in everything, as much as we may want to trust what is shared, can we access ourselves to verify? Well, that's always there. Let's go to the phones and take this call. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling.
And to you, sir. How are you today? Good afternoon to you.
That's fine, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Can't complain for an old man. Sir, a lot of people call maybe all the while, some very good comments and talking about like the Cayman and how we do things and how it was and so forth. I have, sometimes it saddens me a lot, realize that we're far, far removed from the Cayman, that they're thinking of those of the folks who call who are old enough to remember what Cayman was like for Caymanians, for Caymanians, the late 60s, 70s, early 80s. Completely different place. It's not like even the same planet. It's like a different galaxy. They're often talking about the turtles and the section and the nesting and the so forth and the turtle thing is very controversial, and as anyone will know who knows me, and I've said it many times often, I'm very much against releasing the turtles. I've always said that. So it's no secret when I say it.
Right.
And you farm something, you spend so much of the people's money farming it and having it there for show to the people. Now it's like a nice show of what was. And that's great, and people enjoy it and all that. But I remember when it was a farm that provided an export situation, and we were exporting turtle meat and turtle products, and we had the Driller factory and everything. We had over 108,000 turtles in the early 80s, late 70s, and so forth. I know what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure you can check the records.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But the other thing with it is this: they didn't realize they don't. People who come here can see the letters that they write into the newspapers, that they have no clue of the importance of what the turtle industry was to us, because it gave us the most recognizable aspect of our heritage, our seafaring abilities. That was what gave it to us. You ask any old mariner, they can tell you. And he's not so old, all the captains and so forth who were. That is how we gained that seafaring ability, was going turtling off the Mosquito Coast there, off Honduras and the Keys. They can tell you all them Low Key and Norton Dennis and other keys and so forth. And my father was big into the turtle, and over from 1938 to 1950, he shipped over 20,000 turtles that butchered with the help of many Caymanians through Jamaica there to England and continental Europe. It was a big business for us, and it employed many Caymanians. He took many over there with him to Kingston and he'd often go over to the Brack and get folks, remember many of the Scots, especially, and so forth.
Yes, sir. Okay, I think for some reason right then I don't know if to call it.
But it was important for us, that turtling thing, and it's often talked about in derogatory term, that they don't understand the importance of it. That is what gave us our seafaring abilities. That's what we were known for up until when we changed the major thing that we do or did, and now do the financial world and moved into a totally different world. All that. I just like to say this, that I can carry on and tell much more about it, but anyhow, we'll put it at that. Thank you so much for listening.
God bless her. Thank you too. And as I listen to the caller, the sense of respect, appreciation, for the country, the need to not just celebrate, but to be reminded, of what we have. Well, when we come after the break, maybe there are other things that we can talk of. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Prevention is key. Is your heart at risk? During the month of June, Baptist Health International is offering special pricing for cardiac CT scan for calcium scoring for just 99 CI to patients at high risk for heart disease, the leading cause of deaths worldwide. You are a candidate if you are 40 to 65 years old and have any of the following risk factors: obesity, current or recent smoker, family history of heart disease, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, or diabetes. To request an appointment or for more information, call 749-3304 or visit baptisthealth.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And it is open line for the remainder of our program. We go straight to the phones. Hey, welcome, good afternoon, thanks for calling.
Mr. Dean.
Hey, how are you, man?
Alright, am I feeling the heat, boy?
Why, getting hotter and hotter, it feels like, huh?
Yeah, the day is getting quicker and the sun getting hotter.
It feels that way, huh? Feels that way.
No, I was listening to the previous caller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like listening to hear when he talks.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a shame that we lost. I think there was a cannery.
Yeah, for the turtles, yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was it. And I believe they shut that down because it was like, be following what other countries were following. I think the slogan was, right?
It's it is perhaps as you're alluding to and all others, that maybe sometimes the things that are sort of the norm in other jurisdictions, the quote-unquote international sort of obligations, the international practices, maybe sometimes whether it's Cayman or some other place, or even a small town or city or county in a big, metropolitan country, maybe the little, peculiarities, the little, special features within that space, maybe they need to be preserved, maybe they need to be exempt, maybe they need to be somehow, reminded that we can have a little bit of uniqueness without necessarily running afoul of good practice. It can be coexist perhaps.
A can of corned beef can still fill your belly as a can of turtle meat, right? It's just you got to import this kind of corned beef, this mystery meat. You know what I mean? Kind of like, why would you complain about losing your culture when you know the taste of somebody else? You know the taste of somebody else's culture, that mystery meat. You know that's not good for you as good as a can of turtle meat. I mean, I just saying, why...
As an example, yeah.
Why would it try to stand up now when it didn't stand up then? You understand?
Mm-hmm.
We as young people, we kind of understand where we come from. We kind of understand and say that, Caymanians is and always will be a mixed breed of people. It always have to be that you were taking in your culture from where your past, your parents come from. But when you're on this island, you have to make sure, like, you do what you have to do to sustain for the next day, not just for today.
Mm-hmm.
And why, this is what I'm going to ask you. They used to eat the bread when it was moldy back then. Why? Because they needed a source of antibiotics.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But now, if you can find a bread that don't have no mold on it.
Even though it's imported, right?
Even though it's right. So, that was a big bugaboo. Me and your host, your control manager were having still a big old joke we were having up there.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man.
I think it's just funny that you consider us to be lazy when and we're lazy and we're the cause of the problem at the same time. That's funny to me. That's the biggest joke in life. So, thank you very much, Mr. D. I have to leave you with that. Even though I speak in course, it's very hot and I might be
Yeah, man. Yeah. I was thank you for that. And as I listen to the caller, I guess his last comment should make a few, reflect even more pensively. But it's not just about our profound sort of thoughts. It's about an appreciation for our people. We oftentimes take for granted the space and the place that we occupy, and probably more so if we've been there for any length of time. If you disagree, let me give an example and see if it resonates. You go to a place and you're there for the first weeks or months. Take, for instance, people who come to Cayman, and within the first year, a couple of years, even for some, it extends for a period of time. They may enjoy the outdoors, the beach often, going fishing and the like. For some, that may extend for a considerable, period of time. For others, it may only be a few weeks or a few months. But the longer we are, how many of us actually consciously and with great, sense of joy will go walk the beach, take a dip in the sea, and just get outside to enjoy the great outdoors, as it were. Well, it could be as the caller have shared. We may not appreciate how we're losing so much, how we become accustomed and take it for granted, because we no longer value, recognize, celebrate, share, and showcase that we have had forever. It's only when it's lost or threatened that we may actually find our voice when we actually take a stand. But at that point, is it too late? And it could be the same with that special place that you would visit, that one day all of a sudden it's under the threat of development, or that tree that everybody knew looked like it was, some disease or pestilence or like afflicting the tree. And only when it becomes unsafe that it's now blown over in a heavy wind or subjected to some rot that we start to cry about it. Many would say you can't cry over spilled milk, but we often do. But maybe it's not a tree, maybe it's not a developed property. Maybe it was a custom, a habit, a practice that we engaged in, but we no longer, simply because we were busy or we found other interests. Take communities where people will say, in that area, people don't visit there anymore. That particular business, whether it was a haberdashery or some, restaurant that may have been popular for the longest of time, some would even consider it an icon in the community, isn't frequented as much, and the owners find it increasingly difficult to not just make a living but pay the bills. And over time, it closes its doors, not just because of competition, but maybe preferences and tastes and like change. Or what if, someone comes in and says, we don't really want your business, but we like the property and the location, and here is a sum of money or some other, very lucrative offer, and it's attractive, and the owner said, it's a lot of work to keep this going. It has to be more than just tradition, so why not, capitalize on the goodwill and exit, and enjoy life a little bit more, casually. Well, from that to the occurrence of no longer eating certain foods or preparing certain foods in a traditional way, because the practice hasn't been passed on, it hasn't been taken up and continued and celebrated and enjoyed. Tastes change. For many of us, we might say the actual taste of turtle meat is different from what we remember. Maybe we don't know how to prepare it the way our parents or grandparents did. Maybe it's the notion that it's no longer popular or politically correct, or the societal norms have shifted and such that we no longer can embrace that which we would want. Perhaps why some of us look with some great joy and expectation to a Sunday afternoon drive to East Lynn to visit family and friends, but to get closer to the seashore, to enjoy some of the foods, not just a ritual that we do every holiday weekend or every Saturday or Sunday, not just to preserve the practice, but to be grounded and reconnected to this wonderful land. Well, this is without question a very, very blessed place. Better because of all who actively and lovingly make a valiant effort to make an invaluable contribution. But just like that takes consciousness, we can oftentimes find that the contrary can occur if we ignore, consciously or unconsciously, the behaviors that could question our safety and security and stability, undermine our quality of life. The almost incessant commentary that crime seems to be commonplace, that not just crime, but crime with the use of weapons and guns in particular, if we're willing to accept it and we point fingers and cast aspersions and blame everyone from the pastor for not shepherding the flock to the politician for not making sure legislation is there or resources are voted, to the police officer. See, we can question everybody, including the parent. But are we questioning ourselves and asking, what more or we can do, or worse, what are we doing that is actually making it worse? The message today is together, we can stand and strengthen unity and make society a wonderful place that we all want it to be, so that as we enjoy the toils of our labor, as we appreciate, the things that we have we can do so in sense of safety. Well, I believe the calendar says tomorrow is Thursday. I've been approved to take leave of this show for tomorrow. Invite you to join, Miss Kathy, as she has so graciously, as one of our wonderful team members here, to sit in and host. God's willing, I'll be back on Friday. I'll be around, not far away, but I won't be sitting and in the fray. And as you take the calls and engage with all that has been shared, Miss Teresa Karen Lewis will be one of the guests, joined by Miss Mita Day, together with Mr. Jeff. A lot of things to take us down memory lane. That's tomorrow's discussion. A reminder that I'll be absent deliberately and consciously. It's always good to, step away sometimes. You'll be able to appreciate what you have, or when you can actually, understand its value. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We'll have excellent music to listen to, whether it's between now and 3, between 3 and 6, even better. Get our news to be informed, and take us all through the evening, and then come back early in the morning for our praise and worship, and then back for all our program. Radio Cayman strives to entertain and engage, to inform, as it extends an invitation to all of our listeners to be a part of it. Until tomorrow, Friday, and every day after, blessings to us all.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history.